All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is our bonus episode. It was originally going to be our episode 50, and then we decided to make it a bonus episode because why not give you more story goodness when we can? We're doing our Q&A finally. I guess everybody. I'm Alex. I'm the Dungeon Master.
Yep. I'm Sam. I play Margraine.
I'm Ben. I played Magnar, and now I play Garen.
Kim. I play Solara.
I'm Brian. I play Hibonite.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and just start with Margraine from Psychotic Monk, who's somebody who hangs out in our Discord. Check us out there if you want to hang out with mainly Kim, but occasionally the other ones of us show up.
If you want one-word answers from all of us, occasionally every about 3 to 4 days, that's where to find us.
And except for Kim is in there all the time, chatting people up, and having a good time. The Psychotic Monk asks, this question is aimed at Margraine the Paladin. In a recent episode, the players were discussing their level 6 advancement. I was totally shocked to hear that you, Sam, selected a Warblock Hexblade. What patron path is going to work with the Paladin? I guess really not just that, but he's probably asking just, what were you doing being a Paladin and suddenly multi-classing into Warlock? So if you want to answer both those.
So basically, I am somewhat, Alex will accuse me of being a power gamer a little bit. I am somewhat. I look over kind of how classes work before I start things. And going into this over a year ago, I put a lot of thought into what kind of character I wanted to make with Margraine and kind of how to make him interesting a little bit. So I always knew off the bat that I wanted him to be a paladin because he was basically, I wanted him to exemplify the kind of dwarven paladin. He's a forge paladin, but also I really like some of the mechanics out of Hexblade Warlock specifically. And also I thought it would make it kind of interesting. So basically back when we started, I said to Alex, I was like, I'm going to take at least 5 levels of paladin, but starting at level 6, I would like to go Warlock because it's such a big shift that I thought he would need to know about it. So he's known about it since pretty much the beginning that's what I wanted, and checking back with me that like, you still think you're going to do this? And then he slowly actually knowing that was going to happen, he worked that in. I had no clue what was going to happen though. I knew just when I hit level 6, really, I was going to be taking Warlock, and all the rest of it, I found that out in the episode. I had no clue about Lenore or how any of that worked. And as things have gone on, that's gotten super interesting because, maybe she's asking him to do some stuff that's quite contrary to what he should be doing. And it's basically there because, it makes things more interesting. And I wanted the stuff. And in order to get the power, I'm willing to maybe take the narrative hit for it or make things more difficult for Margraine. And we'll see how it turns out. It might get real interesting. So yeah.
Okay. Great. And then Kim, Astrid Star says, as a woman in the gaming community, I think Solara was a great addition to your show. Why did it take you so long to get a woman on the show? And how does Kim feel about being the only woman on the show? So why don't we, we can answer the middle part there, but why don't you answer that in there? How does it feel being the only woman on the show?
I can't imagine it feels much different than being a man on the show because we're all equally killed and taken out. So, Alex is a very equal opportunity DM that way. But as far as like being the representative woman or whatever, I don't necessarily feel much like it's not like it's something that I absolutely feel like I have to be in this position to be the representative of the womankind. But I think it just adds a nice flavor to have a different voice at the table more than anything.
Yeah, and that's to answer the middle part of there. Why did it take us so long? We tried
we wanted one.
Yeah. From the beginning, we were like, we got to find a woman to be on the show, and we asked women that we played with and our wives, and none of them wanted to do it. So,
so nobody would play with us. Yeah, Because personally, I prefer podcasts that have at least a decent mix. I know it's what 4-1 in this, but I don't know. I think having a diverse background for just people in general makes it better. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
I really enjoy having different voices at the table, regardless of what those backgrounds are. So if it happens to be a woman or, somebody who's in the LGBT, whatever spectrum, that I think it really helps to expand the world and to expand the experience of the play in general, or people of color or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the more diverse the voices, the more interesting, because you're getting things from different points of view. So definitely.
Exactly.
But just nobody would play with us until Kim came along.
And I like you guys.
Yeah, and we, of course, like you too. And it's made it fun.
So here's one from Alan. Okay, so Alan says, the party seems to have glaring holes in the party composition. You guys have 3 frontline fighters and a sorcerer. You have a huge lack in healing. One of the fighters should have been more healing support class, like a druid cleric. Did you do this on purpose? If so, why? If not, why did you choose what you did? And I think for all of us, we chose the people that we wanted to play. We didn't even think about party composition.
Yeah,
I wanted to be a barbarian.
We
Thought he was a sorcerer.
To be.
Exactly. So, and if you listen this far, we changed the party up a bit, and I still didn't go with healing. So.
It's still completely imbalanced. So.
For what it's worth, though, because I was a listener at first, I thought it was more interesting in some ways because it's a lot more exciting when, you don't have that guy that's just going to ride in and save everybody's butts, at the last minute or whatever. So it's really interesting, I think, to not have balance.
It makes battles far more tense. I think when we did our first side-eye, I was a cleric, a life cleric, and I'd never really, even though it was pretty tough, I didn't feel like, oh, we're gonna die. It was just like, oh, I'm just gonna heal you guys. So it does add a lot to our dark story going on anyways, that we can't heal each other.
And I think the imbalance actually it adds something in a way that we're playing the characters we want to play. We're not trying to fill a role in a party. I think part of what has made the whole thing work was the holes, right? Because even if you look at starting off episode 1, even the 3 characters we put together were so different that they shouldn't work, and it's trying to figure out how to make them work, which is what makes it good. It's it wasn't like, oh, we're three people who knew everything about each other, and we perfectly complement each other's flaws, and we cover all of the boxes. It's kind of just it's those holes in there that makes the story. So
and as far as me picking the character, I'd never made a character before, so I went, I don't know what I'm doing. Magic is real hard, but fighters are kind of boring, so let's be a monk.
Yeah, Hibonite was my first sorcerer. It's like most other groups, I play a fighter or the tanky sort of character at the front lines. I was like, I want to be something different, and we didn't even talk about party composition, as Ben said before. I was like, I want to do the magic role for once.
Yeah, the first time we properly talked to Ben, you and I, Ryan, was the first episode. Yeah. So yeah.
So one from Mike Carson. What is your favorite moment? One of my favorite moments that still sticks out though in my memory is right near the beginning when Sam was having his fight with Dog, and I was just doing the bees through the wall. Just messing about message is pretty much been my favorite part all the way through the game so far.
Yeah, that was awesome. It really set a tone for Hibonite for that's carried on for everything.
Yeah. It just clearly defined him. He's a joker. He wants to have fun while he can.
That was the question from Mike Carson. What was your favorite moment?
Yes. Yeah. But what about you guys? What's your favorite moment?
I know mine.
Pockets.
Yeah.
That is one specifically female thing that was really fun to add to the story.
My favorite moment is the last minute of the episode, Calm Emotions Prevail. It's a real tense thing where we're going up against Mother Caldona, not going up against her, but Margraine's pulled out all the stops, he's calmed emotions, we're talking to her, she's showing us stuff, and she opens a door and we see something, and Magnar just takes a swing at her, we're talking up until that point, and then Ben just goes, yeah, I'm gonna have to do this, and then he goes, Magnar takes a swing at Mother Caldona, and that was one of my favorite moments, because everything, I was planning, I was like, okay, how do I make the whole paladin thing work, she's a member of the church, and Ben's just like, no, this is too much, die.
Well, it's because she had mentioned that she was weaponizing his child.
Yeah.
That's what kicked
Yeah,
it.
it makes sense, but still, yeah.
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 No, it's just, the contrast once again is nice.
Yep. So it was great because I was there and I was stressing how to balance all of this, and then it's just like, no, make a decision right now. So yeah.
So there was another moment in that section of the story I loved as well, is when we got into the castle. We're going up to the room where Mother Caldona was, and I make Magna and Zalara invisible to go and try and find his wife. We go in and she's just sat there, just waiting. So I was like, great, they're going to be searching for nothing now.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment, in a weird way, is when I think it was. Well, actually, I have no idea when it was, but it was probably about mid through the podcast so far. When we find like Gray and Sophie, all of them dead. So it's just like, oh, we're on another adventure. We're killing some red demons, and then we're looting their bodies, and they're like, hey, you recognize them? It's like, oh, shoot. And we know we all hate Alex anyways as an evil DM, but that was a really hard moment because I think especially for Hibonite, because he and Sophie could have been something.
Yeah, that was
She loved him.
yeah.
Clearly.
That's episode 29, How to Train Your Sorcerer, is when that happened.
Wow, that doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Fun stuff.
Favorite moment for me, man, I don't know. There quite a few. I think one of my favorite parts was the interaction with Margraine's mom.
Yeah.
Just because that was a lot. There were a few things I had scripted as far as her background, but everybody's interaction and it was just unexpected how she took to everyone. So it was a fun NPC to play because it wouldn't, I had a loose outline for her, but it wasn't, it went much deeper than I expected. So.
And she's still my favorite character, period, to date,
100%.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So here's one that I want to know by Anon E-Mouse, which is cute. Do the players feel they are railroaded by the story?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
No.
If you know of anything that goes behind the scenes, we throw a lot of curveballs at Alex. For instance, we'll just bring it back to episode 3, right at the beginning of the podcast. We weren't supposed to fail. The world wasn't supposed to end in episode 3. So, so the entire podcast, everything to do with the entire campaign was changed by one stupid decision we made. So I definitely don't feel railroaded.
It's just been off the rails consistently enough that it feels like a rail.
Yeah, and I think with it, right, with at least our play style, we tend to get kind of hyper focused on something, right? There's that one, like he'll dangle a hook out there, or there will be that one piece of information that we get, and we'll just follow it, right? We'll follow it until it's beat to death, and like
literally most of the time.
Yeah, like for instance, right, when you're talking about how story is gone, we picked back in episode 10, right? We found out where Vodhava is, and we've only just resolved that, right? Like we spent the entire thing, and tons of stuff came up along the way. There's tons of other stuff we could have done, and we're just like, no, Vodhava, and then we get her, and we're like, no, we got to get her somewhere safe, and it might seem like there's like a definite like story that we're following, like we're doing a thing, but it's very much that like we're picking and choosing where we're going, and there's always a wealth of stuff. Anybody who listens, I think, can see how many little things, like, because I listen to the podcast probably more than most people do, because I listen to it as it's edited and as it does all the cuts, and even listening back, there are so many things that Alex throws out there for us to go do that we just completely ignore. So yeah,
I feel like it's kind of hard to feel railroaded, whether we are or not. I don't feel that way, but I think because the way Alex has set the world, it's like things are happening in this world and you're just surviving it. You do what you want. Like, I mean, we didn't even have to go after any of these bad guys. We could have just been like, nah, we don't need to. But it's kind of been like, it's on the way, so sure. but I never felt like I needed to do something outside of, or like I was forced to do something by Alex. So
Yeah.
I've always felt I had free will in this game.
Yeah, I've never felt railroaded. Perfect example. Magnar leaving.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ben didn't know until Ben said that Magnar was leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah.
No, that whole scene where you said you were staying and we just ended it. That was to solidify that you were staying, or that you were staying with the group.
Yeah.
That was the point of that. You were supposed to push back and then you didn't. And I was like, okay, well, all right. Get your next character ready. We're gonna have to put him in next episode, man.
Yeah.
As is evidenced by the what does he look like? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I hadn't even finished his backstory. I had the bare bones, but it wasn't good. I had stopped practicing his accent because I thought he was going to be brought in a lot earlier, and then just the way everything evolved, I was just like, oh, okay, well, Magnar's staying for good, and then all of a sudden I said I wasn't, and I was like,
Oops.
So
yeah.
Do.
I see another cool one here.
Go for it.
From Tiamat. It's actually for you, Alex. Does Alex use CR to design encounters? If not, how does he do it?
Yeah, Alex.
Sometimes, kind of. So what I'll do sometimes is go into Kobold Fight Club and try and figure out from putting characters in there what will work, and then sometimes not at all. I just don't care. I think I do stuff that I think is cool. A lot of the monsters are homebrewed as well, so I don't know what their CR is, and I know there's a way to figure that out in the DMG, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. So I just throw what I think is cool in there. So yes and no, but mainly no.
And if it's too much for us, you just expect us either to die or run away, right? Like,
yep, pretty much.
It's kind of, if we're stupid, we die if it's too powerful, and if not, we survive, right?
Yeah, I kind of am cognizant of it. Like, I don't want, since we are doing a show and not just playing a game, I don't want the characters to die in a dumb way or on something that's completely meaningless. But yeah, for the most part,
falling off a cliff.
Yeah,
rocks fall. Dies.
Yeah. So that's why all the original 4 got a mulligan. But that won't happen again. We're too far in now, and everybody's too high level. Something dumb happens. I don't want it to, but they will die.
Yeah, I believe that. Oh, this one's a real easy one. It's from Kylos Pex. Do you ever script any of the dialogue out loud?
Sorry, what's the question?
So it's a question from Kylos Pex. Do you ever script any of the dialogue or decide what conversations you're going to have ahead of time? No, just
no.
Plain and simple, right? Like
with Hibonite, I don't know what he's going to say until I'm actually saying it half the time.
That's for sure. I, as the DM, I do have a few things that I've scripted out. Murat Hall's speech that he gave, and if I'm going to monologue, I think that's the only one I did. But yeah, if I'm going to monologue, then but other than that, nope, not really.
But like with it, even if he has a outline of what he's going to say, we never know about any of that beforehand.
Nope.
So what we say can be completely unexpected, like Ben deciding Magnar's leaving the podcast all of a sudden. So with it, just due to the nature of that, there's one person who has an idea of what might happen, and then 4 people who have absolutely no clue and have their own ideas for their characters. Just nothing actually ends up getting scripted. It's kind of
I think it'd be really impossible to do, and I don't know, it wouldn't be fun. We would just record a radio play then.
And it would take so much work beforehand.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you could change one thing your character did, what would it be and why?
I know this immediately. So back in episode 2? Episode 3.
I wouldn't have joined them.
It's episode 3, I think. We level up, our first level up. And at level 2, for paladins, you take a fighting style. Every day, I regret that I took dueling over defensive. I think about it literally 4 days out of the week because it's a +1 AC, right? And there have been so many times in this podcast that one AC would have made the difference between Margraine dropping or not.
Oh man.
So if I could change any one thing, it would be that. I would go all the way back to like episode 2 or 3, and instead of getting +2 damage to your weapon, I would do +1 AC. Yep.
For Hebonite, it would be getting the book out when we went to Marat Hall's tomb, because he probably wouldn't have been released if I didn't get that book out.
Kim?
I'm trying to think of what I would have done differently in character. Like, I would have built her differently, but that's another question.
Well, you can, I mean, they're kind of the same question, because I do see David, and then this one is literally from Heather I, and then David has pretty much the same question. Is there anything
with the
you would have done different in your character's progression regarding mechanics or role play? So,
so I would have given her more constitution because her hit points are stupidly low. Yeah, because I've just taken average the whole time, and she's at level 6 with 39 hit points, and with the way these guys hit and with my AC at 16, I'm toast so many times. So that would be definitely something I would change.
I think for Magnar, well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, but I lost sleep over letting Blevin die. I don't know why. I just felt like we needed to save him, and we did our thing and just ran away. And I feel like I should have saved him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then I also, just because it was really more just Ben did not understand what was going on. But it ended up being one of my favorite lines is when I just took the book and ran from Anastasia. So it ended great, but I wish I had understood what was going on, so they maybe not would have died.
I mean, can you imagine the whole trajectory of the next 30 episodes would have been different, you know?
No, that was pivotal.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least it was in character for Magnar. So
it was definitely in character, yeah.
But it was just like, I wasn't role playing. I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with a character that does know what he's doing?
Well, he's got a terrible wisdom score, so he doesn't either. So.
Oh.
He's worse than Magnar.
Well, here's one from our buddy Tim, also another person who hangs out in our Discord, as does David. Tim wanted to know, if you could play another person's character for a single session, whose would it be?
Hebonite, just straight off the bat. I'd play Hebonite.
I would have played Hebonite until I became a magic user.
Garen.
I would have said Margraine if I hadn't played a paladin before and got really frustrated at it. So I would go with Magnar, because I've never played a barbarian before.
Yeah. I just think the lunacy of me playing Hebonite would be amazing. I would get everything about playing Hebonite and ramp it up to 11. Yeah.
I think I'd play Zalara, because we both get emotional a lot, but then I'd have a reason to get emotional, and I would just use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole I didn't know I could cry on cue until I started playing this game. So
yeah,
that's fun.
And then Ben you guys don't see it as listeners, but Ben cries a lot.
Yeah. Actually,
He controls his voice a little bit better.
If you go, I think it's the one where I find out the truth about Vadhava.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's either that one. Oh,
Yeah,
that one
no,
I
you
cried the
get
most,
teary in
definitely.
that.
But
Yeah, you can hear it in that.
Mhm.
yeah.
That one we actually, it of course, got cut out for time, but Ben actually got up and left, and we had to take a little break. It was emotional in here.
Yeah. And then actually you can hear my head thumping the desk after Magnar decides to leave, because emotions. So that's still in there. But
Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, here's one that here's a simple one that we can do. How did the podcast show come up with the name Beholder's Eye? Sam and I were shooting ideas back and forth while I don't know what Sam was doing, but I was drinking via Discord. And Beholder's Eye was the one we agreed was the best. That was it.
And also it was out of a little bit of necessity, right? We were going through things that not only one we thought sounded cool, but weren't taken at the time.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. We were first though.
By 6
but
days.
yeah, it was basically just trying to find something that sounds cool, right? And at least my thing when I was shooting the shit back with Alex about it was that I wanted something that evoked an image, but was also essentially like RPG like, right? And there's nothing more D&D than a beholder. I think if you look at the beholder, it's something that is unique to Dungeons and Dragons, and with it, like even with all like the branding and stuff like that around the show and the logo and stuff, beholder's eye gives you an image. There's an image that shows up in your head. So that's what I was going for, at least when I was talking to Alex about it.
Right, and it's a phrase that's obviously commonly used. It didn't have to do with dice or some play on D&D or RPG or critical. I mean, there's so many critical things out there.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of wanted to do something that gave you the idea that, okay, this is going to be Dungeons and Dragons, but it didn't really tell you. I mean, it wasn't too schmaltzy.
Yeah, and it
cheesy.
doesn't put the show in a box, right?
Right.
Beholder's eye, you don't have a prerequisite going into it of like what the show is, right? When, just for example, like some shows like Drunks and Dragons or whatever, it's there's an expectation going in there, and I don't think there's an expectation with Beholder's eye. I think it's kind of generic a little bit,
and that's one thing we did talk about too, because we didn't know what the show. I think we hadn't asked Ben or Ryan yet to be part of the show when we came up with it. It was just the two of us coming up with ideas.
Yeah,
so
and
we had no idea what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit more maybe witty than it is. It's a lot more dark than I ever thought it was going to be. So kind of deciding a name beforehand, not putting it in the box was the real thing behind it.
Yeah.
Well, I probably wouldn't have played a barbarian who thinks he's a sorcerer if I thought it was going to be dark. So
yeah.
Well, I think we all thought it was going to be silly.
Yeah, I really did. I thought it was going to be like just crazy, because we had, as soon as I found out that both of them had picked people who weren't part of the church, first of all, like had no affiliates with the church, that they were both kind of like, I don't know, I don't know a better word, but like pagans, I guess, I was like, because I went into it and my initial thing when Alex pitched the world to me was like, this is the most important thing in this whole world. So obviously, everybody's going to be part of this religion. And so I think it was expected to be a lot more lighthearted going out.
Yeah, it was.
Of course, I think with our darkness though, like we are all very lighthearted people, I think, and so it's a good mix. It's not like it's
not like it's
dreary.
It's not like you're listening to 30 minutes of Schindler's List over and over again where you're like, oh, humanity sucks. I think we're still kind of fun. Would they have been able to injure Marat Hull if they attacked the gyms as he was emerging? What was the choice that the players made that surprised you most in the moment? And as a player, what was the hardest choice to let go of? So no, I can say that the gyms were not there to, that wouldn't have hurt them. I mean, they were doing plenty of damage. They dropped him by, I think, like 50% within like a round or two. So no, the gyms were really just a DM sort of tool to give them a countdown. That's what it was there for. And that was really the whole purpose. I don't know if that was clear or not. Let's see what was the choice the players made that surprised you the most in the moment? I mean, for me, it happens all the time. I mean, I think like sometimes it's like, what? There's a lot of just.
I charged 30 people.
When I create
burn
combat,
all of the prostitutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Oh, I take the book.
For them. It was just to scare them.
Or
I
what's
think
that?
that's one every episode.
Just about, yeah. I mean, unless it's like a kind of bottle episode with a bunch of, talking in like one or two rooms, then yeah. And then as a player, what is the hardest choice to let go of?
Going dueling instead of defensive once again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rolling terrible stats or rolling perfectly mediocre stats.
That's not a choice. That's pure luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think maybe we kind of answered that before.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Was there anything you wanted to add, Kim?
I don't know. Well, there aren't anything that were really my choice individually, but like as a group, like in Kringle Falls when we ended up clearing out the whole town and didn't get, I guess that was down to rolls too, wasn't it? That wasn't really our choice. Because like getting the Wyverns to come after us was a problem.
Yeah.
What was that person's name?
So that wasn't really our choice. So never mind. No, where? Yeah.
How about you,
All the
Ryan?
choices that I would have made differently were all.
I just need to find a name because I've forgotten her name now. The lady
Who?
that I slept with.
Oh,
Nix.
Nix. Not sending a message back to Nix with the people we sent to Castle Delacroix after Kringle Falls.
Oh.
Oh.
Aw.
Yeah, that would
And
be a good one.
not talking to her the day after as well. Literally just going out on an adventure the day after.
Well, that's kind of Hibonite though. So.
Yeah.
It's hip at night, but it's one of the things that as a character, he still plays on his mind. I spend way too much time thinking about his regrets.
Well, she's
In
not
my
dead
head.
yet, so.
Yep.
As
Yeah.
far as we know.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks the optimism. Just yet.
Yeah.
Look at the world we play in, man.
Oh, that's true. Waiting for some character to come trailing along with her head on his belt, sort of thing.
Oh, I do know something I would have done differently. I would not have written Tamika into my backstory so much. Thanks, Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he would have found something else to weave
Something
into
else,
there.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's had to do something with it. Let's see. How in depth did the players coordinate with Alex over their character concepts? Did the players coordinate with each other as well before it started? Well, we've already said no on
0.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I don't even think I spoke to you about my character. I think it was like
no.
2 weeks before we started. I
You
didn't
didn't have Ryan didn't have a backstory until we were like episode 15 or something.
I didn't even look at the backstory
What?
of the world. I was literally like, I'm just going to be a complete outsider to everything. So
Yeah.
everything is new and amazing to my character.
Yeah, and the only thing I knew about Magnar going in was I told Alex the concept for Margraine, where like he's a stout halfling, which kind of has the same stats as a dwarf, and he thinks he's a dwarf. And Alex went, "You and Ben are way too close. You guys are both broken." And basically, you guys are both broken in the head, you know. And that was it. Like that's all I knew. I was like, he thinks he's something else. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And I think as far as coordinating, probably with Sam's the person I coordinated with the most, and I guess and with Kim as well.
Yeah.
Partially because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of had. Yeah, it was your first character, so we just kind of had to work together on that. And then with Sam, we kind of came up with Saint Allegius the same way we came up with the name for the show.
Yeah,
It might have even been the same night.
Yeah, and with it, I think with how I've built a lot of just like one-off characters for things. So I really wanted to integrate Margraine into the world, which I think I successfully did. He's very ingrained in the world. He exists there, in at least in this land that we're in. So it was a lot of back and forth with at least Alex and I, for me trying to figure out how at least the parts of the world he would interact with worked to build him. So there was a lot of like, well, would this thing for him work, in this and everything. So
Right.
yeah, we coordinated a lot for it.
Yeah, we did, and that kind of set up the whole.
Yeah.
Really, doing that set up the whole religious system that I built.
Paladin structure and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And I would say that we've done a lot of coordinating with the future stuff too for Zalara, because we're just happened to be heading out to her area. So
Right.
we've done a lot of that kind of coordination of, well, where were you born? How did this work? Etc.
Yeah, we do that, and we did that with Sam for Durnholm as well. If we'd ever gone to Margraine's home or Magnar's home. Jesus. Magnar's home, we would do that, and and then Ryan and I do have some back and forth on his home as well. So for anything that could be essential for them to know when they show up, and that way I'm not doing just here's exposition dump. They can do the exposition dump. So
I'm looking forward to and dreading when we go to Hibonite's, if we go to Hibonite's home.
yeah.
And
I
Alex
think
gonna mess with it.
yeah, and I think all of us at this point, we have backup characters. Like Garen was a backup character, in case we happen to kill one of us off or whatever, so that we have something to actually play. And I think all of those are a lot more integrated with Alex. We've all talked over those a lot more with Alex than we ever did with the originals.
Yeah. With the backups, I said they have to work with the story. You can't.
Yeah.
you can't just throw somebody crazy in because like it's too hard to throw in a new character to begin with. So they have to work with it.
So take two, a lot more integrated.
A lot more integrated. Yes. Yeah. So Garen, much more integrated. Ben and I had some back and forth with it, and we did a little recording with him tonight, and which I guess I'm not sure when this is going to come out with everything, but it'll probably be in the future for when you hear this. But like literally 5 minutes before he started talking in an episode, I sent him a message saying, "Hey, what about this?" And he's like, "Yeah." So yeah. Who was doing the next side eye, and how do you guys decide what to do for that, and how canon are they? Ben, I think is the next one, right?
Yep. As long as I'm not the one out, I'll be doing the next one. Canon.
No,
not at all.
We break too much stuff. Some of them are loosely based in the world, but they could be completely separate dimensions now at this point.
Right.
Well, basically that's what it is. Like Ben played a life cleric, but he was covered in ash and everything, and that's specifically.
Well, I was a life cleric, but I worked for the Grave Saint or Saint.
Right.
Yeah, but that's because I didn't know Grave was an actual cleric domain.
Oh, I see.
Oops.
Yeah, it fit.
Yeah.
So.
Although in one of them, the most recent that's coming out as we record this, Alavari is actually pulled from. It's a guest character that's going to be over on LCP D&D, and it was just like, hey, we're doing a side eye. We need a 7th level character, and I was like, hey, I have one. I just built.
Yeah. Like I played Wit, who's a character I had from an old campaign with Alex and Ryan, actually, who I adore, and I like to pull him out whenever I can.
It's a little bit of why there's a bit more focus on Wit in that side eye, because the history I have with that character.
Yeah, Ryan hates him, so.
Well, you cast friends immediately upon meeting me in the last campaign with him.
Well, as far as how do you guys decide what to do? I know for Sam, it was like the day before. Alex was like, "Guys, I cannot make this. Sam, you have something."
And we needed content.
And I didn't know until an hour before recording that I needed a character. So
we record at on Saturdays at like 1 p.m. my time. It was 6 p.m. the day before that Alex was like, "Yeah, I just can't do this. Somebody needs to have something because we're gonna run out of episodes." Because right now we run with a bit of a backlog, but at the time it was literally like if we didn't make a recording session, there was no more episodes for the week after that. So it was basically all of that. I flipped through a monster manual, and I was like, this is a cool monster, what other monsters fit with that monster? And then I just built the rest of it around there, and hilarity ensued. So zero planning on my part. I think the most planning was probably Ryan in his most recent one.
Yeah, probably. I was planning that for the first side eye until we actually did it. Although I forgot my notebook for the session, so it was all off the top of my head.
Yeah. And I've had another one planned for a while, so there's going to be a lot more planning into that.
All right.
Cool.
Let's see. What's one class or race you've never played but want to?
Warlock.
No classes really. I have a ranger in the works. Haven't got to play it yet, but other than that, I think I've played everything except barbarian and fighter, but those don't really appeal to me too much. One race I really wanted to play though was dwarf. And that's what I went into trying to build for the podcast, was a dwarf. And that
you're slowly getting there.
So either I'll end up playing a dwarf by the end of this, or I'll have to play one at some other point. But
for me, it would be Rogue Mastermind, because I really like the idea of the class, and I've never actually played just a generic human before. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. That would probably be interesting to play.
Yeah, I'd probably do a variant, tiefling, rogue, sorcerer, multi-class. That's one I've always wanted to play, but never had a chance to.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to play a lot, to be quite frank. So, but that's the one I really want to play next.
I would like to be an Eladrin or an Asimir. I've not done either of those.
Ooh, yeah.
They're really fun.
All right. Here's one I'll just knock out real quick. Once again from Psychotic Monk. Alex, it has now been 50 episodes. Do you have any plans to share maps of of your world with the viewers and history lore as well. Yeah, I think I'll eventually have to. I've been kind of resistant against the maps because I like the idea that the players know as much, or the players kind of know as much of the geography as the characters do. Everything's kind of vague, because there wouldn't be a good mapping system out there at that time, and no GPS. They would just think of things differently. So I like that, but as they are exploring more and more of the world, I think it might be one of those things that's good to see. As far as history and lore, yeah, that's one of those things we need to, especially with the crazy names and everything else, we need to at least put a character list up somewhere. So
with that, I haven't even told them that yet, but don't expect it anytime soon. But I've got a wiki in the works,
Cool.
so that people can add to it as well from the community and stuff, so that I don't have to take care of it, at least. Because there's a lot of stuff. There's a ton of stuff that just gets generated every single episode,
Yeah.
But I've got a wiki in the works, so yeah, we'll see how that works out.
One
It's
of your
coming up.
1800 projects.
Yeah, it's coming up no time soon. Don't expect it within the next couple of months. Maybe it might be a 100th episode project. But there will be something for at least keeping track of it, for my own sanity, at least. So
Yeah.
All right. All right. Then what are your favorite fantasy books? All right, Sam, since you said you want to answer that one, what are they?
So with me, it's hard to pin it down, but pretty much anything by Brandon Sanderson.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, he's got some, like Elantris is a little bit weaker than others, but anything part of his Cosmere universe, I'm a little bit too obsessed. I just recently, I think Alex is the one who turned me on to his books. Back about 2 years ago now at this point. But Alex was like, "Oh, this is a really cool book. You'll enjoy it." And I have since listened to a lot of audiobooks because I don't have a ton of time to read physically. I've since listened to every single one of his works, and the man's a prolific writer, like 2 or 3 books a year. And recently, right now, I've gone through and I'm listening to everything that's part of his Cosmere universe again. So in the past 4 weeks, I've listened to 7 books of his.
Oh my God.
So yeah,
Wow.
that's my go-to answer for sure.
How about you, Kim?
I got through the first Mistborn listening to, and now I'm trying to actually read the second. So those are my fave at the moment, but I always enjoy a good Tolkien novel.
Vin is best girl.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan? Do you have any favorite fantasy books?
I've started reading the Witcher series, but I'm not much of a novel reader in general, but I'm more of a sci-fi reader. So I like the Warhammer 40,000 lore books, especially the Lehman Russ one, because the lore is just brilliant.
Very cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to read those. It's so in depth and dark and silly all at the same
They're
time.
incredibly dark and brilliant. I'd recommend the Primaris Lehman Russ book, especially because some of the stuff that happens in the first chapter is brilliant.
Does Discworld count as fantasy?
Yes.
Then that
absolutely.
would be high on my list.
Okay.
The whole world.
How about you, Ben?
Yeah, Discworld, that's just fantastic. I think I started with The Hogfather, and so that's just my favorite now. But I think my all-time series is The Chronicles of Prydain, which is Black Cauldron for the Disney people. Or it's light in the sense of it's not 4,000 pages each book, but there's a lot to it. At least as I remember, it's been probably 10 years since I've read them, but they're just a fantastic fantasy series.
Yeah.
By Lloyd Alexander.
Yep, it's I agree with that. It's a great series. I think the ones I've enjoyed that haven't been mentioned, because I think I've read almost all these except for the Warhammer ones, is I really like Joe Abercrombie's First Law series.
Oh yeah, you put me onto those. Those are amazing too.
Yeah, they're good. They're dark, but I think they're a little silly too. In I guess maybe a cynical humor sort of way.
Yeah, it's high fantasy in a not magic way.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way. I would say it's a lot of turning tropes on its head and kind of adding a real world look to power dynamics and things that you see normally within, a fantasy setting. A lot doing with the mentor leading the person who goes on the hero's journey, really turning that on its head. And one of the best characters in there is a torturer who's I mean, yeah, he's probably my favorite character and one of the most sympathetic but just awful people at the same time. So,
and nobody's a good guy, and nobody is not only who you think they are, but who they think they are.
Right.
Everybody, especially like one of the main characters, in the end, kind of he feels like he's a villain, right? Goes through thinking he's kind of the good guy, but not a super good guy, and in the end, he's almost convinced he's the villain. And one of the villains in it, through it, you can't help but like him and understand why he's doing everything. And he's not like cackling evil, but he's just bad. He's a bad guy. Those are awesome. Yeah, I love those.
Yeah, those are fun. Well, I think that's probably good. And we recorded 3 episodes before this, so I'm exhausted. And all right, well then, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this bonus episode, and we will see you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.